Renault Scenic Review. Bold looks should be enough to help the Scenic attract attention. But what about the rest of the package? Striking exterior design, practical cabin details, decent to drive. There's no denying that the Renault Scenic is a more stylish and desirable proposition than it's ever been, and it has to be to remain relevant in today's crossover-obsessed market. Thankfully, there's enough substance underneath the style to ensure it's still good at being an MPV. Behind the 2016 Scenic's shapely body and massive 20-inch wheels, it's a practical proposition with loads of useful storage areas and seats that flip and fold easily. Legroom is a little tight in the back for adults, though, and a Citroën C4 Picasso is more spacious. The interior is solidly built in the main, too, with plenty of the latest tech to keep driver and passengers happy. MPVs aren't about involving handling, but the Scenic is one of the better cars in its class to drive, with fairly agile handling and some strong and efficient engines. The ride on the 20-inch wheels isn't as bad as you might expect, but it's still more fidgety than a C4 Picasso. Overall, though, it's a solid offering that should appeal to family buyers who aren't ready to give up on style just yet. Renault Scenic First Ride Review. Our choice, Renault Scenic DC130 Dynamique Nav. The Renault Scenic is considered by many to be the pioneer of the mini MPV segment. It launched in 1996 and was the first car to be labeled as such, using the platform of the first-generation Megane but the taller, more practical body shell. It sat at a lower price point than the larger Espace, too. Renault Grand Scenic First Drive Review. The Scenic was very popular across Europe, and pretty soon other manufacturers such as Citroën, Vauxhall and Nissan were muscling in on the class. Some rivals started to squeeze in an extra pair of seats in the back, so the second-generation Scenic also launched with a larger 7-seat Grand Scenic variant. When the third-generation Renault Scenic came along, the MPV was falling out of favor with buyers starting to become more interested in SUVs and crossovers. That trend has now become an epidemic, which is why this new for 2016 4th-generation Scenic borrows a little of the jacked-up style from that class of car. With its curvy shape and standard-fit 20-inch wheels, the Scenic is more of a style statement than it's ever been. Best MPVs and people carriers. It's more familiar under the skin, however. The Scenic sits on the same platform as the new Renault Megane and is offered in the same two body styles as before, the 5-seat Scenic and the longer, 7-seat Grand Scenic. At launch, the Scenic comes with two 1.2-liter turbo petrol engines and four 1.6-liter diesel engine choices, with power outputs ranging from 95 bhp to 158 bhp. Early in 2017, Renault will also debut its 48-volt hybrid assist tech on the diesel in the UK to bring even greater efficiency. There are 4 trim levels at launch: 2, entry-level Expression Plus, Dynamique Nav, Dynamique S Nav and range-topping Signature Nav. Even base models come fitted with kits such as active emergency braking, cruise control, a 7-inch touchscreen with DAB radio, LED running lights, dual-zone climate control and auto lights and wipers. Engines, performance and drive for petrols are good, but diesel fits the Scenic best. Handling is tidy, although ride could be a concern on UK roads. Renault isn't just looking to innovate with the Scenic's looks, it's also hoping that the MPV can offer a nicer driving experience than a similarly sized crossover or SUV. By sitting lower to the ground, it has a lower center of gravity, and Renault doesn't have to combat body roll by fitting stiff suspension. That's only in theory, but in reality the Scenic is still one of the better handling MPVs around. It might not have the edge of the VW Touran, but there's not much body roll. The steering is accurate and the car feels lighter on its feet than most SUVs. Push hard, though, and it doesn't feel as grippy or as agile as the Megane on which it's based. Of more concern is the ride on those 20-inch wheels. Renault has fitted specially developed tires with the width and sidewall thickness of normal 16 or 17-inch wheels in the hope of making the Scenic smooth over bumps. On most roads it feels no firmer than a Megane, but roads with lots of small potholes cause the MPV to fidget more than we'd like. Still, it's not bad by any means, and road noise is kept at bay with only wind noise from the door mirrors intruding at speed. Elsewhere, visibility is good thanks to the large expanse of glass and tall windscreen, although it doesn't come with the nifty sliding blinds you'll find in a Citroën C4 Picasso. It can be tricky to work out where the bonnet line ends as the windscreen is pushed so far forward, and that makes tight maneuvers in parking bays less than fun. Engines. The Scenic's petrol and diesel range have been lifted mostly unchanged from the Megane. The cheapest variant in the lineup is a 1.2-liter turbo petrol, producing 114 bhp. We'd recommend stumping up a little bit extra for the 128 bhp version. However, as its 205 Nm makes it a reasonably strong and flexible petrol engine that doesn't mind being revved. The diesels are a better fit for the Scenic, however. All three are 1.6-liter units with power outputs ranging from 114 bhp to 158 bhp. We'd recommend the DC130 unit as it's the best balance between performance, economy and price, although strangely it's the only diesel you can't have with an automatic gearbox. Also on the way is a petrol-electric hybrid assist variant of the DC110 diesel. It's a mild hybrid, using an integrated starter generator and regenerative braking to assist the petrol engine wherever possible, so it can't run on electric-only power. Still, it's the most efficient option on paper, works pretty smoothly and should make sense for company car buyers. PG, CO2 and running costs 3.6. The Scenic isn't quite as efficient as you might expect, but hybrid assist diesel is very frugal on paper. You may be a bit disappointed if you bought the Scenic instead of an SUV hoping for better fuel economy. In reality, it isn't much more efficient. Both petrols manage an adequate but not exceptional 48.7 miles per gallon combined and emit 129 grams/km of CO2. For reference, that's worse than the same engine manages in the Renault Scenic, on paper at least. If it's frugality you're after, however, as ever we'd recommend choosing a diesel engine. The entry-level DC110 unit manages 72.4 miles per gallon combined and emits 100 grams/km, while stepping up to the DC130 Hz efficiency a fairly substantial amount to 62.7 miles per gallon combined and 116 grams/km. That's quite a way off a Citroën C4 Picasso Blue D120, which claims 74.3 miles per gallon and 100 grams/km. In the real world the difference will be less noticeable, but it's a shame Renault couldn't more closely replicate the fuel efficiency of the new Megane in the Scenic. As a bonus, though the top-spec C160 matches the DC130's claimed economy figure, despite having a manual gearbox. However, early on in 2017 the Scenic will have an ace card to play in the form of the hybrid assist version. Based on the C110, it boosts claimed fuel economy to 80.7 miles per gallon and emits 92 grams/km. That puts it in a low benefit in kind, BIC, tax band of 15%, meaning company car drivers may want to hold on for that model to arrive. Some buyers may have concern over the Scenic's 20-inch alloy wheels and the cost of replacement tires. As a result, Renault has teamed up with a couple of tire manufacturers to ensure new tires don't cost any more than normal 17-inch rubber. They're actually quite skinny, too, while the sidewall isn't a particularly low profile. Insurance groups. Insurance groups are yet to be announced, but don't expect them to be much worse than most rivals given the Scenic's 5-star Euro NCAP rating. A Renault Cadre starts at Group 14, and the Scenic should be about the same. Insurance groups. Insurance groups are yet to be announced, but don't expect them to be much worse than most rivals given the Scenic's 5-star Euro NCAP rating. A Renault Cadre starts at Group 14, and the Scenic should be about the same. Depreciation. It's too early to calculate a true depreciation figure on the Scenic. Traditionally, large Renaults don't hold on to their value very well, and the MPV sector is suffering at the moment too. However, the Scenic's sharp looks should be enough to ensure it's better than some rivals in terms of retained value. Interior, design and technology. 4.2 The Scenic's bold exterior gives it the edge over state MPVs, while the interior is versatile and well-made. Renault's design boss Laurens van den Akker has gone to great lengths to explain why the exterior look of the new Scenic is so important. The only way to save the MPV sector is to make them more desirable, he reckons, and he's even gone as far as saying that if the Scenic doesn't sell then MPVs deserve to die altogether. You can see what he's getting at when you first clap eyes on the Scenic. The bulbous front end is even more striking than the Renault Cadre, while the windscreen is steeply raked and there are loads of curves and creases. At the back the design is softer and more rounded, while it's raised up slightly to give it presence. You could go as far as calling it elegant, although this is still an MPV. It certainly gives the Citroën C4 Picasso a run for its money, and is far less staid than a Toyota Verso. The 20-inch wheels are as big a design trait as the bodywork. They're the same size as the ones you get on a Bentley Mulsanne, for example. There are several designs available, and they can even be personalized with handy inserts that clip on and off. Inside, things aren't quite as stylish. Most of the plastics are dark and the design isn't particularly interesting. Still, it looks smart enough and feels considerably better built than the previous generation car, with only a few squeaks and rattles on our early test model letting things down. It just lacks a bit of the plushness and airiness of the C4 Picasso's interior. The design is much the same as the new Megane, only with a less driver-focused and more upright, family-friendly shape. Renault has elected to ditch the old centrally mounted speedo and use digital instruments in the conventional place behind the wheel, which it says improves the driver's control of the car. Top models are very well kitted out, thanks to electric memory leather seats, a panoramic glass roof, a Bose sound system and a head-up display, plus the new portrait-style touchscreen. Sat-nav, stereo and infotainment. While much is being said about the new large touchscreen infotainment system in the Scenic, what you get depends on what trim level you choose. Entry-level Expression models get a fairly basic and small landscape screen with a DAB radio and Bluetooth, plus 4 speakers and a no input. Expression Plus models boosted to a 7-inch touchscreen. However, upgrade to Dynamic Nav spec, however, and you'll find a 7-inch portrait tablet-style or link system with sat-nav, live traffic updates and more functionality, plus an Archimedes sound system. Signature nav models see that upgraded again to an 8.7-inch system, although that still doesn't get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto tech, which will arrive early in 2017. You'll also find an excellent 11-speaker Bose sound system on the top model. The system is fairly easy to operate, although it can be slow to swap between menus, which mars the experience somewhat. Practicality, comfort and boot space. 4.1 Not the most practical people carrier in its class, but a big boot and decent storage makes it better than an SUV. This is where an MPV has to shine regardless of how desirable it is on the outside, and the Scenic largely delivers on the practicality front. For starters, it's longer and wider than the old model, while the boot is class-leading for a 5-seat people carrier. Up front you'll find acres of leg and headroom, while the seats have a wide range of adjustment, although there's no fancy electric footrest like on the Citroën C4 Picasso. The Scenic has quite an SUV-like driving position, too, which will appeal to those torn between the two classes. In the back, space isn't quite as good as the best in the class, but at least there's a wealth of storage spaces dotted about the cabin, including a central console with 13 liters of space in it that slides smoothly back and forwards depending on what you need from it. There are also compartments under the front seats and rear seat floor, plus a glove box that slides outwards like a filing cabinet. Further neat touches include little secondary sun visors that slide out of the main one to block the small bit of window by the rear view mirror that usually lets the sun in. The folding mechanism for the 3 rear seats is a doddle to use, and as an option the Scenic's rearmost chairs can be folded electrically either with buttons in the boot or via a menu on the central touchscreen. Size. The Scenic is 20mm wider than the old model, 40mm higher off the ground, and has a 32mm longer wheelbase, yet the rear overhang is 16mm shorter. Buyers can also opt for the 7-seat Grand Scenic, which adds an additional 228mm of bodywork. By comparison, the Citroën C4 Picasso is nearly longer than the standard Scenic but less wide and not as tall. Legroom, headroom and passenger space. The Scenic offers plenty of head and legroom for passengers despite top models coming fitted with a panoramic glass sunroof. Knee is a touch compromised by the large dashboard, but overall most shapes and sizes should be able to get comfortable. The back isn't quite as commodious, however, as there isn't a huge amount of legroom for taller adults even with the 3 seats slid back and reclined as far as they go. A Citroën C4 Picasso is better in this regard. Headroom is reasonable but not class-leading, although shoulder room is much better than before thanks to the increased body width. Boot. The Scenic offers a class-leading seat-up boot space capacity of 572 liters, although you have to bear in mind that figure is without the removable boot floor and tire inflation kit. The boot is well-shaped, but the load lip is a little high, and with the seats folded down there's a bit of a lip to lift items over. Renault hasn't released the full figure for the seats down boot space yet. Reliability and safety. 4.3. There's an exceptional amount of safety kit in the Scenic and a 5-star Euro NCAP rating as a result. Reliability is improving a great deal, too, as we've come to expect from Renault. The Scenic is one of the safest people carriers around. There's a new reinforced steel structure underneath the skin, with numerous crumple zones and ultra-high elastic structure points that can withstand huge amounts of pressure. Alongside that, every Scenic has 7 airbags as standard, contributing to a 90% Euro NCAP score for adult occupant protection. As we're used to now, there's a plethora of active safety systems playing a part in the Scenic's 5-star rating. Renault claims it is the only people carrier in the segment to offer active emergency braking with pedestrian detection as standard. There are also systems such as lane departure warning and lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control and fatigue detection. Reliability is a bit of an unknown with an all-new model, but Renault has made great strides in the area of late. For a brand with a reputation for building unreliable cars just a few years ago, to finish 8th out of 31 manufacturers in our 2016 Driver Power Survey is an impressive feat. It's clear that Renault is working hard to put right its previous mistakes. Items like the new touchscreen infotainment system are unproven, however. Warranty. Renault is giving buyers increased confidence by offering its 4+ scheme, which covers servicing costs and warranty for 4 years and 100,000 miles. The package also includes breakdown cover for the entire period. The overall package isn't quite as strong as that offered by manufacturers like Hyundai and Kia, but it looks like a pretty good inclusive offer against the 3-year cover provided by most other manufacturers. Servicing. Renault is yet to announce exact service intervals for the Scenic, but we can assume they'll be broadly similar to the new Megane given the powertrain and underpinnings are shared. That car requires attention every 12 months of 18,000 miles regardless of engine. Like most manufacturers, Renault offers a servicing package that can be added in when you purchase the car.